Okay. Hello everybody, and how are you all doing today? Welcome back to the Global Gyal channel. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do that. If you are new here, welcome. This is another edition of the Black Women Traveler series, where I sit and I interview Black women solo travelers who I've met here in Colombia, and we get their entire story about from the time they're born to the time they reach on this yellowish couch. So we are here in Medellin, and I am very excited to introduce you to someone who I've met here, and I will let her introduce herself and say her name.
Yes, thank you, girl. I am Royal Williams, and I'm another fellow Black female traveler, and
Yes, she is, and she's also very much in the influencer sphere. She's an influencer as well. Correct? Do you refer to yourself as an influencer or a content creator?
I don't think I influence. Well, no, I don't call it influence.
Yeah.
I think content creator is more like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's a fellow content creator, so I will put her information in the description box below. But she has a YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok. What is it?
It's all the same. Yep, she travels like over everything.
Yes, she travels. So we're gonna dive more into that. But at first, let us get Royal's story and what basically brought her here to Medellin, Colombia, and to this yellow couch. So Royal, where were you born? Tell us a little bit. Where were you born?
So I am a California girl.
California,
California, USA.
Where exactly?
I was born in Southern California, about an hour outside of LA. Nobody really knows it, but if you've ever gone to Coachella, it's basically you pass through from LA, you pass through where I was born and where my family still lives to go to like Coachella or to Vegas or something. It's
what's it called?
Riverside, California.
Okay, if anybody knows Riverside, California, let us know.
Yes.
All right, so tell me a little bit about growing up in Riverside, California. I don't know if I've ever met somebody like born and raised in California, so this is cool.
In California in general, okay.
Or like Riverside and Riverside, California.
Yes. Well, yeah, Riverside is pretty cool because at least I grew up in this just really normal suburban type of environment. Mm-hmm. It's very quiet. If you want all the action, you can go to LA, but there's lots of stuff to do around Riverside. It's not like the country.
Okay.
No, it's not at all. It's like the in between. It's almost like a being in the extension of LA. In a sense.
Okay. So the city just expanded. So it's where the families kind of go after they start to get out of the city.
But I don't want to like characterize it as like the typical like suburban white picket fence either. Yeah. It's more because it's still pretty. I don't know. It's busy. There's lots of traffic. It's just. I don't know. I like living there. It's kind of deserty as well. But then you're like an hour away from the beach, or you're an hour away from the mountains.
Okay.
You're basically in the desert, but if you want to get real desert, you can go about an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I like the location of Riverside, and growing up there I liked it a lot.
Yeah. And what would you say is one of your favorite things to do as a kid growing up in Riverside?
As a kid, so we used to live by a park, and we used to just ride our bikes all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were outside a lot. We would ride our bikes all the time. We would walk down to the community store, like get beef jerky. Not community store, the convenience store, get beef jerky. We used to just always be outside.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. And you say we, so was it kind of like neighborhood people or your siblings? Do you have siblings?
Yes, both. So I'm the oldest out of 5.
5? Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
What?
I know, there's a lot. There's 3 boys, and then the youngest is a girl.
Okay.
And so, always outside on bikes with the neighborhood kids as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Definitely sounds like an exciting childhood and one that you enjoyed.
Yes, it was fun.
Yeah.
Especially I forgot to even mention just having church family as well to do stuff with. That was also a big part of just also being outside. So And did lots of your family live there as well, like your extended family, or kind of just your family, but then obviously made friends with other people? You know, when I was younger, yes. I also lived in LA when I was younger, but when I was younger, we would go back and forth between, Riverside and LA. My grandmother was there, my grandfather. My auntie, actually, in the house that I grew up in, we still have, she lived just 5 houses up.
Oh, nice.
So she's basically like a second mother. She doesn't have kids, and so she has 5 nieces and nephews that lived only 5 houses away. And so she would like take us in when she wanted, but then send us home. It's like it was the perfect balance. And so we're always around family. At one point, most of my aunts and uncles, they lived in California, and so we were always around family.
Okay, amazing. I love that. All right, so then grew up in Riverside. Yes, grew up in Riverside. And what happened kind of like after high school? Was it that you joined the workforce? Did you start to travel? Did you go to university?
So after high school, what did I do? So after high school, I went to university. Yes.
In California or somewhere else?
No, in Alabama. I actually went to an HBCU in Alabama, Oakwood University. And we just had recently we had our like 10-year
reunion.
Yes, I didn't go, but I saw the footage. It looked fun. But yeah, so I got there 2008 in Alabama. That was obviously a really big change from being in California.
Yeah.
A lot slower pace.
Okay, I was just about to say, tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a lot slower pace. And then going to a HBCU was amazing. But the HBCU that I went to was a little bit different because it's all vegetarian. Yes.
I had no idea they had schools like that.
Oh, yes.
An all vegetarian school.
All vegetarian school. Very Christian school. And so there was also like certain things like no co-ed dorms or things like that. We had curfew, and so
the university had curfew, or if you live on dorms, it had curfew.
Yeah, if you lived on campus, you had a curfew. At the time, it was 11 p.m.
What? This is mind blowing. Okay.
Yeah, it was a very unique experience, but I enjoyed it because the people there are very, very dope.
Okay, nice. And so, was that the first time you kind of traveled by yourself, or had you been traveling as a family? You did say you went back and forth between LA and Riverside, but were you traveling as a family by yourself? Was that the first time, like, being on your...
I actually went to boarding school.
Oh, you did?
By choice, yes, in high school. And that was, I would say, the first time that I was on my own. So then going to university, which is kind of just an extension of that.
Yeah, the same thing.
Exactly. And so I think that also going to boarding school empowered me to just do things and try things, because I didn't have anybody else to really make my decisions for me except for myself.
Yeah. What made you decide to go to boarding school, and where did you go to boarding school?
In California.
In California, okay.
It wasn't like it's kind of those things you walk in the footsteps of your family. So my uncle worked at the school at one point. My dad and all my aunts and uncles, they all went to that boarding school. And it was only like 45 minutes away from my grandparents' house. So we used to go up there all the time during the summer. And so it wasn't like going too far out.
Yeah.
It felt still good.
Yeah.
But it was still like, living on your own, and you have to hold yourself accountable. And
of course.
Nobody's there to get on you about your grades. And so it was the first step when I was like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
I can like do stuff.
Yeah. Amazing. So that definitely set you up and gave you a bit of independence for it. So I guess the adjustment, like you said, wasn't as difficult going to university.
Yeah, well, I think for me, because also the boarding school I went to also was very religious.
Yeah.
And then so me thinking I was going to go, as an adult in university, I would have less restrictions than having basically kind of like the same amount. I was like, this is weird. I didn't like it that much because, I could justify being a teenager.
Yes.
And being told what to do. But then as an adult, I'm like, wait a second. Why is my curfew 11?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and what did you study in university?
I studied journalism.
Journalism?
Yes.
I did not know that. Okay.
Journalism, like with the media production focus, and Spanish.
And Spanish. Okay, so this is making sense. So when did you start learning a second language?
Besides high school, I would say it was really college. I studied abroad in Spain my sophomore year.
Was that your first time out of the country internationally?
No, I think the first time I went out of the country was probably Mexico.
Okay.
And then in, I think, high school, we had a mission trip to Peru and to Jamaica. So I was able to go there, and then and also we did like a little bit of traveling with the school as well. And so I'd been out the country a few times, but it'd never been for such an extended amount of time. It was a full school year. It was all the way in Spain, but also it was I loved it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, tell us a little bit more about what that experience was like. That's something I always wanted to do, and I never was able to do in school. So share a little bit of insight for anybody who might be interested in doing a study abroad.
Well, you're kind of like making up for that now, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Exactly. So one of the things about being in Spain, especially I think I was 19 at the time, it was the first time I felt like I was more of like an adult because it was less restrictive.
Yes.
Even though they did have rules, but we didn't follow them that much. Sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, but yeah, it was like people from all over the U.S. We got together. We got to basically take all of our classes in Spanish. It was the first time I was able to really be immersed in a culture with the food and the history, and like even going out, what that seems like, what it's like to be an American outside of America, really, because... and seeing like how people perceive me outside of America for an extended amount of time. And so it was just really eye-opening.
For that, can you talk a little bit more about how people perceive you outside of America? What was that perception, and what was that like for you, just interpreting it all, I guess?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I noticed, which was interesting, was having a certain amount of privilege because of being American.
Yes. Okay.
It's almost like, you flash the passport, and then it was like, oh, well, whatever I thought about you before, I must be wrong because you're American.
So you're getting judged before based on how you look?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of racism in
Spain,
that country. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think because of the immigration situation there, and so a lot of the times I felt like if people thought that they perceived me as being like from an African country, for example, then I would get treated differently. I would be treated as if I didn't have money. And I was a broke college student. I was living off of like $50 a month. Okay, so I was broke. I was poor. But for some reason, as soon as it was like, oh, well, you're from the States. Yeah. Okay, well, then I'm not going to be as harsh.
Wow.
Or I'm not going to assume that like maybe you're a working girl.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So there's it just switches essentially from being black to being Black American.
Right.
And you're getting privileges, like you said, almost outside of the country. I mean, not something that is unfamiliar, but still just like the fact that it happens. Yeah. Okay, so outside of that, I guess that was one of the, would you say, downsides of being overseas in Spain? Or was there anything else that was kind of challenging or stuck out to you?
I honestly wouldn't call it a downside as more as eye-opening. Because it's one of those things, it's like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And that was the first time, I think, being outside of the U.S. where you can see yourself in a different light or see how other people perceive you outside of like what you know and go, oh, okay, well, this is something that I can learn from. Yeah. But I would say the challenge at the time was, also just being overseas and being broke. Like, I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't. Like, my dad, he would give me money, actually. But he would give me, like, I think $75 every single month. And at the time, the exchange rate with the euro was terrible. So it ended up being, like, $50. Yeah. And I was grateful because I had no other options. I had no other... But I wish I could have done... it, like, not like a poor college student. I mean, I had everything I need, food, shelter, but...
Yeah. You had to get resourceful and creative to have fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Were you able to travel to other European countries though?
Yes.
Yeah, even as a broke college student.
Yes, thank God for Ryanair. Ryanair was clutch so many times at finding tickets to go wherever for, I don't know, like 20 euro or then doing hostels.
Yes.
Or traveling with people so you could split between 5-6 people. That was the way that we did it.
Yes. Okay, cool. So tell me, I don't know if it was then or something before, but when would you say you fell in love with travel? When did that travel bug hit you? Or bite you, I should say.
No, it smacked me in the head, yeah.
It smacked you in the head? I love that.
Honestly, I think it was when I came back from Spain. Yeah.
Okay.
When I came back from Spain, I realized I didn't want to be in the U.S. And I still had 2 more years of school left, and I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out, okay, I'm broke.
Yeah.
What can I do? How can I get out?
Yes.
What are ways? And so I remember looking to Peace Corps and trying to do that and trying to apply. I was looking at so many different ways, volunteer programs, all those kinds of things, because I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want to be here, and ended up switching my major to Spanish because it would get me out faster.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Provide you with opportunities. So then when you graduated, I guess what was next?
Well, what ended up being next was I moved to Colombia, basically.
You did? Right after university?
2 weeks after.
What?
Yeah,
really?
2 weeks after.
Doing, like, how did that line up? How?
Yeah, how, exactly.
How?
So, again, I was, like, trying to be resourceful because I was broke. And so I was like, how can I live outside with no money? And I found this program that, at the time, it was like, you pay a fee, but then if you stay here for the year, every single month they pay for your housing and they give you a little stipend. Over the course of time, it basically, you end up getting your money back through the stipend. And I remember because I bought my own ticket, they gave me like a certain amount of money back, even though my ticket was like, you know, being resourceful, you know.
Yeah,
I think I flew down here on Spirit. And so because of that, I was able to basically almost with no money, which I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend, come down here and basically survive off just a little bit of something.
So it was a program.
A volunteer program.
Oh, volunteer program. So then what were you doing?
English teacher.
Oh, okay. And you did that for a year?
Yeah, about 9 months. 10 months, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fresh out. How old are you?
I was 22.
22, moved to Colombia, teaching English.
Yes.
And what was that experience like?
It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. It was I like being in Colombia, but honestly, it was a really difficult time.
Yeah.
I remember I wasn't a teacher. They put me in a school that was amazing. It was an agricultural school. They had really great lunches. The kids were great. But they had me teaching like 6 different grades.
What?
And it was a lot. I think I had like 27 hours. And even like as a teacher, like I'm a teacher now, but I think thinking back on it, I'm like, they shouldn't have done that. That wasn't responsible. And then I remember just not having a good time because it was a lot. And so I think most people, when they like their first year of teaching, is pretty difficult anyway. So I guess it's not that different, but it was hard. But all I knew is that I wanted to stay in Colombia. And so after I left that program, I ended up getting into like a private school to teach. And then that kind of just snowballed. That's how I figured out I could just stay in Colombia or stay abroad.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess what was after, fill in the gaps from that point until kind of now, if you can. I mean, it sounds broad, but if you can. So private school teaching. Yeah. Did you stay in Colombia that entire time until this point, or what was life like?
Okay, so it goes a little like this a little bit.
Girl, we here, we listening.
So private school teaching, and then I decided, okay, well, I want to do this the rest of my life. I want to be abroad the rest of my life. So how do I do that? I need to get credentialed. And so after being in Colombia, I think I was here for about 4 years. I had to go to the States. I was there for 2 years. I taught, got credentialed, and then decided I didn't want to teach anymore, or needed a break.
Yes.
And so I was going to do a gap year. My first stop was Colombia, which was my mistake.
So you left and then you were like, oh, going straight back to Colombia. Colombia had a hold on you. Colombia.
No, that's the problem. I didn't know. I had a ticket to China even. I like had all these plans. I was supposed to like backpack East Africa, all these things, and then my first stop was Colombia. In kind of a serendipitous moment, when I went to go visit one of my old jobs, a woman had quit that day. An English teacher had quit. So they were like, oh, well, do you want to just stay is a... Well, I was just going to travel the rest of the year. I guess I could save more money, and I already know the school. And blah, blah. I was like, why not?
Yeah.
And then I stayed the school year. Then that school year just made me decide I don't want to be a teacher anymore.
Yes. Okay. So tested it out. Like, nah.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. And I think by then it was maybe year 7. And usually by year 5, people know if they want to do it forever. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to do that gap year. Ended up in Australia for 6 months. Yeah. Being a nanny. And I worked in a restaurant. And then I was like, I want to do psychology finally.
Okay.
Because I actually got into college as a psychology major, but then switched to
journalism and then switched to Spanish. That's okay. That's okay. We're here. That's life. That's life. That means you've been living.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. Yeah. And then so I went to school. I got my master's in psychology. Was able to do it online. So throughout the pandemic, so July 2020 is when I got into school. Finished 2021. No, 2022. Yes, last year.
Yeah. So where were you based when you were doing your master's?
So I was in California, and then I came down to Colombia.
Okay.
Yeah, in 2021. And so that's how I got back here, and that's where I've been since.
Yes. Okay, I see. And so for that gap year that you took, was it just Australia that you went to?
Yes, and the thing is, I was supposed to do more, but obviously the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to basically spend time going through Asia, all through Asia. I wanted to go to Bali, and then there was like a cruise that you could take, and I was looking at all this research, and then I was going to end up in Hawaii, and then,
No, it didn't happen. And actually, weren't you and I in Australia at the same time, I think?
We were.
Because I was there from 2019, all of 2019, and majority of 2020. And you were there from when?
I got there June 2019, and I left November, like the end of November.
Of 2019? So we were in Australia at the same time. Granted, it is a huge country. But
it is, but our paths could have crossed in some type of way.
You were in Sydney?
I was in Melbourne. But I did visit Sydney.
Yes, okay. We could have walked past each other on the street.
Never know.
We did.
And that's how the universe works.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. We came close, and now we're right there. We're
exactly.
Right there. Yeah. So then tell me about what kept bringing you back to Colombia. What about Colombia made you be like, even after your 9 months of this was intense, in the first day of graduating, you're like, but I know I'm going to live in Colombia, or I know I want to stay?
It's really hard to put it in words. I feel like Colombia is one of those places you have to just experience.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme, reason, no logic, no nothing. You just have to experience, and then people go, oh no, I get it.
Yes.
And I've never been in a place that's like that before. Okay. Maybe I felt the same way about South Africa, but Colombia, I don't know. And then coming to Medellin and the weather, and then having community as well, that completely made my experience in Colombia change as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. So with community, are you referring to kind of other people like you, expats, or are you referring to Colombian community? Do you have a Colombian community here, like Colombian friends and stuff?
Yeah, I do have Colombian friends. Yeah. What I've noticed over the year and just my experience is that like Colombians will be super, super friendly.
Yeah.
So accommodating, so hospitable. But it is harder to get into those circles sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. To be honest, I feel as though that's something everywhere, or a lot of places, because the communities, they are big, but they're still small at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, they're still when I lived on the coast, for example, a lot of people, they are still friends with the people they went to school with, like primary school, and it's very close-knit.
Yeah.
But like once you get in, like once you are able, like, establish that trust, Colombians are like the dopest friends to have. Just will always have your back, always a good time, always will look out for you. Just it's a it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to get on those levels.
I know. But in my experience, it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah. You've invested what now? 7 to 10 years?
Yeah, it's been over 7 years now.
It's been over 7 years. So, girl, you put in the work. You deserve those golden friendships.
It's worth it though.
Yes, yeah, but I couldn't agree more. It's something you have to experience, and I feel like the Colombians are just so nice and welcoming, and so is the country.
Yep.
You know, it's just like, hey, you're not from here, but come see
Right.
what we have to experience.
Exactly. Like we want to show you that the Colombia that you think you know, that it's been portrayed, is
Yes.
not the case.
Yes.
And then when something negative happens, they are truly, what I've experienced, are truly sorry, truly like embarrassed, truly ashamed, because in general it doesn't represent the overall attitude or life here.
Yeah, 100%. I could definitely see that. Okay, so then tell us, what are you doing now? What's your job? Or project or?
Okay, so I started a travel company.
You did?
Yes, I did. Basically, I started it a year ago.
Yes?
Yes, I'm super excited about it.
Congratulations. Sorry, that was so delayed. Yay! So you're a full-time entrepreneur.
Yes, that's the goal.
Yeah, okay, that's the goal. All right, so that's
the goal.
That's part of what you do. Kind of sounds like me. So that is part of what you do. Mm-hmm. Travel company. Mm-hmm. And what does that entail?
Yeah, so the idea is to give Black women, or women of color, but specifically Black women, a safe space to experience the world together in a place where we can be unapologetically ourselves, but also have community. Like, as an adult, it's so hard to make new friends.
Yeah.
Being abroad, from what my experience has been like, it's just a lot easier. I don't know if it's science or whatever, but there's something about meeting somebody abroad and you maybe look alike, or you speak the same language, or just even look alike, that just makes those steps towards, having an acquaintance or a friend just shorter.
Immediate besties.
Right. No, honestly, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing happens when you go travel with somebody and strangers.
True. Yeah.
So there's something special, there's something magical about having a group of women come together, strangers. And there's something that just kind of speeds up the getting to know each other process, the being vulnerable process, and like the building community process.
Yes.
And so when I noticed that, I was like, this is super important. So the idea of this company is to bring women together that are like-minded, that want to travel the world, that are adventurous. They want to do it in a safe space. Maybe they're not used to traveling by themselves and they want to do it with people, or maybe they're done with traveling by themselves and they want to come with people. And so just come together and just find basically like your travel buddies, your travel besties, your travel fam.
Yeah, your travel tribe.
Exactly.
Yes.
All of the above.
Yes, I love that. So you've been doing that for a year now. So what trips have you all taken?
Yeah, so I've been able to do a Medellin trip and a Cartagena trip.
Okay, so all in Colombia.
Yes.
But still in both those two cities.
Yes.
And how was it? How was doing that? You as a first time, I guess, travel company host, but then at the same time, from feedback that you've heard from people who have taken that trip.
So first things first, I have bad social anxiety.
Yeah.
Terrible social anxiety, right?
People play it off well. Right?
Exactly, you learned. I have terrible social anxiety, so just thinking about even hosting a trip was just, why would I do that to myself?
Okay.
And then, so yeah, that was the first thing, was just like, people, this is gonna be too much. And then two, what I discovered about myself last year, actually, when I started the company, is that I'm a perfectionist. Yes. And I didn't realize that before, and then learning like how that also can just sabotage yourself in that type of aspect. And so the first trip that I did, it was first amazing, but because one, I have social anxiety, and two, I'm a perfectionist, when one thing, and it didn't even go wrong, it was one of the biggest travel times. And so I remember Comuna 13 was just very packed that day, and it was hot, and these are things I can't control, but I'm like, everything is awful, this is the worst thing ever, why did I do this, everybody hates me, right?
Yes.
And then realizing like, wait, no, breathe. Like let's like get out of your head and like look at it from a realistic standpoint.
Yes.
And then the feedback I ended up getting was, this was like the best trip I've ever gone on. I'll go on a trip with you again. This was so much fun. We did so many things. It was so cool. Meeting other people to connect with. And so I was like, yes. Okay, so it was just like, okay, just take a moment, breathe, because all those things that like I made myself just go.
Yeah. Overthinking. And the perfectionism and
all of it. It just, I was proven wrong.
Yes. So then it sounds as though you've reflected, you've worked on some of the stuff, and then for Cartagena and moving forward as well, for you personally as a Black female entrepreneur, it's improved time and time again. But then the trips themselves have just been amazing, regardless of what your overthinking brain thinks.
Exactly. And it's one of those things that's like, no, I'm going to tell people about it. I'm going to tell them to come to you. I'll go on another trip that you're doing. Like, it's the ones that went to Medellin, they want to come to Cartagena and vice versa. And I'm like, yes, you deserve it. And it sounds like your heart is in the right place. You've traveled for so long, you've built these communities, you saw what is the value of it, and you're creating that space for other people who want to experience that. They might not want to move abroad for extended periods of time, but they do want that. And like you said, it's a great way to make friends in adulthood. Exactly.
That just sounds amazing.
And for somebody who's a solo traveler who never was able to get people to come because they were so flaky, now I have travel buddies. So I'm going, just in a couple weeks, I'm going to Europe to a Beyonce concert with one of the women that went on the group trip.
Oh my god.
So it's
yes,
legit was able to find a travel buddy, travel fam, like all of that, because I was able to just kind of just get over fears and doubt and just like make something happen, which I know I could. Colombia is like a second home to me, and so having it be in Colombia, and then also focusing on Afro-Latino, like Afro-Colombian tours and voices and stories.
So that's in the tour too.
Exactly.
Okay, focusing on Afro-Colombian culture, stuff like that.
So I think that the idea is to help to amplify and share the Afro-Colombian stories, because it's amazing. I mean, and connect the African diaspora. And also, like, we're like connecting each other. We're able to see each other, be able to see what ways that we relate to each other. There's a lot of ways, there's a lot of similarities that I have found with just systemic things that are in Colombia that exist in the US, for example. And so it's just a way for us to just communicate and connect and build community in that way.
I love it. Okay, so now is when I'm going to put in the plug. So if you are interested, if you're a Black female traveler or a woman of color, or somebody who's just interested in joining and becoming a part of a community and exploring a new country, experiencing Afro-Colombian culture, please go on yupshetravels.com and look and book. So I can tell you, and this is going to be my plug, I will be a part of the most recent one that's coming up, correct? In June. So there's a group trip in June to Medellin, where we are right now. And if you use the code Global Gyal 75. Yes, you can get a discount, and then you will help me and you will help Royal as well in supporting this type of community. So definitely go on She Travels. So there's one in June to Medellin, and then there's a Thanksgiving trip in Cartagena.
It's a girls trip a lot of people go on it when they want to celebrate their birthday, so that it becomes kind of like a Thanksgiving birthday celebration trip.
That's so cute. I love it. So anyways, if you want to come and meet Royal and myself and just experience Colombia with a really cool travel community full of women of color, definitely come to the one in Medellin.
The one in Medellin.
In June, and definitely check it out. I'll put everything in the description box below. So another question that I have for you, Royal, plug is finished, but it will come back, is you have lived here for a certain amount of years. I also know that you are very good. You've said it a few times in organizing, perfectionist, in finding the deals. You've mentioned the deals for so many things. So I have two questions, and I'm kind of going all over the place. But one is, let me ask the first question. So what's one tip that you would give to somebody who is new to this whole like travel lifestyle? Maybe they do want to travel, maybe they do want to go on a group trip, maybe they want to do solo, but they don't have the money. So what's a good tip as to, I don't know, if you want to do flights or a program that you know of, or an opportunity that's just like, yeah, you can actually do this and make money and not spend a dime almost.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm going to start with the people that need to be very resourceful, so they will be brave in their approach. I would say first, don't have your heart set on a specific area.
That's a great one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know everybody wants to go to the Maldives. Everybody wants to go to Machu Picchu. Everybody has all these places they want to go, but you have to be more connected to the experience than the place.
Yeah.
So travel is going to make you grow in so many different ways, and if that's your goal, self-improvement, then the place isn't as important.
Yeah.
So if the place isn't as important, you can kind of just go where the deals are. So what I like to do is I use Skyscanner a lot.
Okay, I've never used it. Skyscanner. Okay.
So Skyscanner is good because basically whatever location that you're at, you could tell it to search everywhere in the world, specific dates, the month, whatever, and it will come up with the cheapest places that you can go.
That's great. So you build your vacation around the cheapest location.
Exactly.
Or to get to, at least.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so sometimes because it's sometimes you'll accidentally stumble upon like a really good deal because of Skyscanner. It'll just pick it up where normally it'll be 2-3 times the price.
Yeah.
But you would have never known to even look because so I remember because of Skyscanner, I remember getting I went to St. Martin, and there's a one way for like $65.
What?
Like,
$65? What?
It was from Texas.
From Texas?
Yeah, I was going to be in Houston at the time, so I put in Houston, and I think I booked it maybe 10 days before.
What?
Yeah, and it was just, okay, I'm going to be here. Where can I go from Houston? Put it in, St. Martin. Okay, cool.
Damn,
$65.
Oh, gosh, y'all, at least start using Skyscanner. I mean, there's not much places probably for cheap from Antigua, but still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only problem.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I've come accustomed.
But you never know. Those Skyscanner, they'll find it.
You never know.
Find the deal.
For real. That's good. Thank you for that tip. Thank you. I need to learn that. Yes. Okay, great. And then I guess my second question is, so I know that she's like an expert in medical tourism here in Colombia. So I kind of just want to tell people to check you out. But what have you done? What services have you used here in Colombia, and would you recommend, like highly, out of all of them that you've done, to do if you're ever interested in coming to Colombia, because the medical care is like amazing?
Well, first thing I would say, like, I didn't realize that what I was doing all these years was considered medical tourism in a sense, because I've been living here for so long.
Yes.
So anything that I've ever needed to do most of the stuff has just been done in Colombia. But what I will say is Colombia is really good when it comes to dental work. They're really good when it comes to like the aesthetics of it all. Okay. And a lot of the times the doctors, they get trained in the US and then they come here.
Oh, really?
A lot of the times they get trained outside the Colombia and then they come here. Not that the schools aren't good here, but the doctors, especially like the highly qualified specialists that you would never be able to afford in your own country probably, you could probably do that here.
Okay.
And so my dermatologist, who I adore so much, she was trained in Cuba, and she got my face all the way together when I got here. Like I had such bad acne when I came here, and just in one trip going to her,
done.
God bless her. And then also the dental work here. Yes, when I lived here, I actually had braces done here.
Oh, really?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, and then I was able to get veneers here as well.
Yes.
So veneers is actually one of the popular things that people are doing. It's because the skill in Colombia
is amazing. Yeah, okay, well, definitely, again, if you go on www.yupshetravels, you can find more information about that. And so I don't know. I feel like we've covered everything, at least that I had in my head. Is there anything else that you want to share with the community? Any other advice or tips or suggestions, or anything else that you wanted to share about what you're doing as a Black woman solo traveler here in the world? Or not really?
Yeah, well, so one of the things that I try to do is I try to get people to come to Colombia, and I try to get them to stay, especially Medellin.
So you got friends.
No, honestly though, but like even the people that come on the group trip, I'm like, okay, you could stay though. But you could live here. I will help you. I will be your resource. I will connect you so you could also just stay.
Yes.
And so I think one of the things that makes me really love being here right now, I don't know if I should look at you or the camera.
Look at the camera. Talk to them.
Talk to the people. Is the fact that, and I just had this conversation, is the fact that this is one of the first times that I've been able to, one, work from home, but also be around people, that look like me. And as a result, I realized that I don't experience things like microaggressions on a regular basis. And so because I've been around or outside of that kind of environment, it's been able to help me see myself for who I am better, and then not also like take on the pangs of microaggressions that I would in the States. And so because I've been very intentional about the people I put myself around, it's helped my mental health so much. I also am a mental health advocate because I'm going to be a psychologist. Like that's what I'm preparing to do right now, so get a doctorate and stuff.
Oh my gosh, yay!
Yes, and one of the things I would love to look into is like what we're doing right now is how we're able to put ourselves into a situation, whether there's support a community, help each other, support each other, and see how does that affect our well-being overall.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think the first time I've realized that I was experiencing a microaggression in the last year, because I have been very intentional with who I've been with, I was like, oh, that hurts. Like that. But then before I was so used to it.
Yeah, it was no longer the norm. It's now an abnormal thing.
It's abnormal. Yeah. Thank you. That's the best way to put it. It's no longer the norm. And so I just want people to be able to experience life in that way, where you don't have to be seen in a certain way, where those types of issues things are not the norm anymore, and how you will look at yourself better in a different way because you're not subjected to that.
Yeah. Love that. Thank you for sharing that and for pointing that out. Definitely something that I feel like maybe Black Americans or Black people in the US, in North America even, because I want to include Canada, tend to experience more than if you, let's say, grew up in a country where it is majority Black.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's not based on your skin color. But yeah, so just getting out of that. So I agree. I encourage anybody who is thinking about or interested in going, and it doesn't have to be for a year, it doesn't have to be for 5 years.
Right.
Try 3 months if you have the ability to, and do it and change a lot of things, your mindset, your everything.
Try a week on a group trip. What are the dates? June what? June 14 to 20, 2023. Medellin.
There we go. Global Gyal 75. Okay, and last but not least, I will open the floor to if you actually have a question or two for me.
Yeah, I want to know what makes Medellin the place that you want to just be in. What makes Medellin the place for you?
It is a few things. First is weather. I can remember when I went to school, before going to university, which I grew up in Antigua in the warm, went to university in Canada, one of the coldest places to be in. And my uncle had told me before, he was like, I choose things based on the weather, type of thing. So anyways, Bogota is too cold. Next, Medellin is kind of like just right. It rains too much, to be honest, and I don't really like wearing jackets outside, and you kind of have to put on a light jacket at night. But that's my Caribbean-ness ringing through and through. I'm a girl.
Because I don't usually wear a jacket at night.
Yeah, I want shorts and a tank top. If it's less than like 26 degrees or 75 degrees, I'm like, it's too cold. So it's based on the weather. It's based on the size. I also grew up in a tiny, tiny island, so I like being a number. I don't like walking down the street and seeing people that I know. I don't like going to events and seeing people that I know, even though it does happen here just because. And anywhere you go in the world, actually, you kind of find your community and stuff. But again, Bogota was too cold. It has the numbers, but it was too cold. Cartagena, I feel like, would just be a bit too small. So Medellin is it. And then there's always something to do here in Medellin. Again, small island, you go to the beach or the movies. Here, you can do a walk for different things every single day of the week at any point in time. Not to say I go and do them, I really don't. I'm in my house a lot. But I could if I wanted to.
You had the option.
I have the option. I could catch the bus and go to. Also, I was told beforehand, Antioquia itself, the region that Medellin is in, is absolutely beautiful. So I actually challenged myself to do once a month, go to a new town, like catch a local bus and just go and explore. And I really, really, really enjoyed that. So it's all of that coupled with. The cherry on top is the fact that if you just look outside my window, you could see this landscape because you're in a valley. So every time you step outside or every time you go to a certain area, it takes your breath away because of how just majestic it is. The city and the lights, but the mountains. And so it just kind of reminds you and humbles you every day that nature is here. Nature is what rules. You are a tiny speck on this mountain. So that's Medellin for me.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert. People don't know this. I'm an extroverted introvert. So I do well in extroverted situations or social situations, but I get my energy from being by myself and to myself. Listening to music, taking long showers, painting my nails. I've had to write down what those things are that re-energize me. But at the same time, I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy hearing people's stories and what that brings. But I don't get my energy from it. It takes my energy.
So then what's that like being in Medellin then with the community or building community as an introverted extrovert?
I have been lucky because kind of how we met through the Black Women's Group. It's been a really great community and resource. So, but I can choose when I want to participate, but I'm not being left out because people are in that group talking every day. Hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? Hey, anybody want to join me? So when I do have the energy, I do take part, but when I don't have to, but I'm still not left out, And then I've met some really amazing women here who they understand. So again, they would send invitations, but then if I don't show up for the next week, they're not like, "Oh, are you okay?" They just know like I'm taking a 5 to myself, I'm doing my own thing, and they're kind of like that too. So I've also found my own tribe who are extroverts but are also introverts as well. So so that's how it is. I think that WhatsApp group is tremendous in so many different ways. And if you are in a country and you are a Black woman and you don't have a group, start it on WhatsApp, start it on Facebook. Definitely, because it's just invaluable.
Yes. And the group that she's talking about, I think it has over 300 people now, but when it started about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, there was just 20 of us.
Really? So you were in it from the beginning?
From the beginning.
Oh, wow.
And it was the whole thing. It was basically being in Medellin, being in Colombia, and for me, I just didn't know where everybody was. And then suddenly met people, realized that there's more of us here, we need a place to connect, and then that's how it came about.
Amazing.
And then now there's over 300 women, and I mean, it changed the quality of my life in Medellin for sure. And I would say also just like being I'm an introverted extrovert, right?
Same.
I think it makes it easy when you can, for some reason, I don't know, we introverted extroverted people, we love to be outside of the US. We're the travelers, actually. We're the ones that are feel like there's more of us out here. And so I think that's part of like being in the community too, is like we are able to find each other and know and understand each other because it's really us that are out here doing it.
I mean, to be honest, as a solo traveler as well, it gives you it's the perfect balance of it, because you get to do what you want when you want,
exactly,
and experience new things when you want, but you can meet people or you could just do whatever by yourself.
Exactly.
So yeah, hey, I didn't ever even thought about that. I should ask my other friends, like, what are you? Are you extroverted or introverted, extroverted or introverted? And there are some introverts as well that I've met who are solo female travelers as well. And I'm like, look at you, you are here.
Exactly.
Anyways, okay, thank you so much for those questions as well. And thank you also, I wanted to say, for opening up and sharing that whole thing where you were saying with your mental health has been doing better and you want to work on that and you're studying that to improve that. So definitely thank you for sharing and for sharing with the people. Folks, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Royal on Yup, She Travels on any of the platforms, or send me a message as well. I can connect you. Or if you have questions, put it in. Maybe we could do a part 2. Who knows?
I am okay with that.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. Okay. So, but in the meantime, we gotta go. So thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next one. I don't know who it's gonna be, but whoever it is, you know, it's gonna be a dope story. So thank you so much, Royal.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this interview. You're so good at this.
Oh, thank you.
So you pay attention, you listen, your questions are relevant, they get you thinking.
Oh, yay! Honestly, if this is all that I could do, because I love hearing people's stories.
I can tell. I'm the same way, so I'm going to be a psychologist.
Yes. It's like, tell me more about your life and what inspired you to do this, and hopefully it inspires more people to do that. So anyways, thank you for those compliments, and folks, we gone. Bye.
Bye.
Yay!
Woo. Yes.
That was so good. Tell me, what is your favorite song right now?
Oh shoot! You're putting me on the spot for real.
It's just a test. In case anything is just like, you know, one of those songs that just hits you and you have to replay it. That's if you have one.
I do, because I have a song that when I need to get up and go,
yes,
I put it on, and I think because they actually say "Let's Go" in the song, it like makes me. So it's what's her Glorilla?
Glorilla?
Yeah, Glorilla.
Okay.
FNF, Let's Go is what it's called, and so she's like, "Let's go," and when she does it, I'm like, "Yeah, let's go! I need to get up and actually do something."
Yes.
So I've been putting that on, and I think that makes.
Let's go.
Exactly, she knows. Alexa knows.